What's up and welcome to FPL Today. I'm your host JNO, welcome to the channel and welcome to our final video on midfielders, and we're looking at the premium price midfielders in the Fantasy Premier League game for 2017-2018. But before we get into the video, if you love FPL content in your subscription box, consider subscribing to the channel as we're currently going through 30 days of FPL right near the end. Check out all the videos on there as I've got plenty of content for you to see. Anyway, let's get on with the premium price midfielders in the Fantasy Premier League game, and before we get into it, I just want to make some points about the premium price midfielders. If we actually look, last year premium price midfielders was the most predictable area to be picking players from to get you a lot of points. Out of the top 7 scorers in the whole game last year, 5 of them were midfielders, and the majority of them came from this price bracket. I think only Gylfi Sigurdsson and Joshua King got anywhere close to the top scoring midfielders last year. And before I go on with this list, Alexis Sanchez is not in there because I don't know where he'll end up during the summer transfer window. But Alexis Sanchez was a great midfielder to have last year and has generally been a top scorer, so definitely consider him for your sides, but just wait until we know with more certainty what will happen with Alexis Sanchez. Anyway, on with my actual picks, and the first player is Paul Pogba, coming in at 8 million. Now there are other Man United midfield options that could be very viable this season. Martial, if he can get some game time, and Mkhitaryan, both around the same price I believe, if memory serves me correctly. Both could have great seasons, but I'm going with Paul Pogba, especially with the signing of Matic. I feel like Pogba could be released a bit more, have more assist and goal scoring potential further up the field, which could benefit us, seeing as he's coming at a very reasonable price of 8 million. Now last year, and hopefully I'll remember to put it in a card, I did a player analysis on Paul Pogba, and his stats from Juventus were incredible, and I thought he could have a great first season in the Premier League. It didn't quite turn out that way, but his stats weren't awful, but he wasn't a must-have Premier League player. Potentially that could change this season if he is allowed to roam forward a bit more, and hopefully he will have a good understanding with Romelu Lukaku, so maybe this season is Paul Pogba's breakout party. If we look at his season last year, he had 29 starts with 1 substitute appearance on top of that. He managed to get 5 goals and 4 assists, which is 9 goals involved in, and his goal involvement rate was at 19.6%. Attempts, he had 92 attempts on goal and 57 chances created in general, and Man United have a very favourable start to the season with West Ham, Swansea, Leicester City, Stoke and Everton as their first 5 fixtures. It's definitely worth monitoring, and I'm not saying he's definitely going to have a great season, but I believe this could be Paul Pogba's season in the Premier League to really announce himself as the player everyone was hoping he would be when he got signed for so much money. Our next pick is someone that's future is in doubt, and he's moved up from the mid-price to the premium price bracket in midfield, and it is Gylfi Sigurdsson. Coming in at 8.5 million, Gylfi Sigurdsson may stay at Swansea, he may also move to Everton, but what you can't deny is the fact that he has been consistent in the Fantasy Premier League game for a couple of years now, and despite the fact he was in a Swansea side that struggled a lot, he was still one of the top scoring midfielders in the Fantasy Premier League game. To me, that shows that if he does move, he's probably still going to be a very good option as long as he gets first team football and has a team built that can benefit him as an attacking asset. And for me, I feel like Everton definitely have players in the box that can get on the end of his crosses and his assists, which means I think Gylfi Sigurdsson should, if he moves to Everton, do just as well as if he stays at Swansea. Last season he had 37 starts with 1 substitute appearance, managed to get 9 goals and 13 assists, almost being a double goal scorer and assist over 10 player. His goal involvement for Swansea was at 50%. That means 1 of every 2 goals he was involved in either assisting or scoring a goal, which is an incredible return for last season. He had 116 attempts on goal with 77 chances created, and the fixture list isn't too bad for Swansea. It's not amazing. Southampton, Man United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle and Tottenham. I think Sigurdsson could be great. If he goes Everton, maybe you don't want him for the first fixtures, but he was pretty fixture proof as well last year, getting points against some of the big clubs as well as the smaller ones, so Gylfi Sigurdsson could be a great option for our Fantasy Premier League season. Yesterday we broke the trend and recommended a player that hasn't played in the Premier League before. This video we are breaking the trend again a little bit. It's someone that has played in the Premier League before but didn't have the best of times at Chelsea and has moved back and has joined Liverpool, and it's Mohamed Salah. Now Sadio Mane almost got this spot. And Sadio Mane probably is the safer option, but Mohamed Salah at 9 million has had a great start to pre-season and seems to be gelling with that side a lot. Has amazing pace which suits Klopp's system, and Klopp has brought him in deliberately because he believes he can benefit Liverpool and fit the system that Klopp likes to play. And because I believe he will have a good season, and he comes in at 0.5 million less than Sadio Mane, and will be more advanced than Coutinho, and has goals and assists to his game from Italy, I think Mohamed Salah could be a great choice this season. If we look at his stats from the Serie A last season, he had 29 starts with 2 substitute appearances. He managed to get 15 goals in total with 11 assists. That's 26 goals involved in. His shots per game was at 2.6 and his key passes per game was at 2.3 and an average rating of 7.48. Fixture list for Liverpool. You never know with Liverpool, they turn up to some of the big games and sometimes don't turn up to the small games, so you never know quite how to read it. However, they've got Watford, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Man City and Burnley. Mohamed Salah is definitely someone I'm looking at, and I feel like I may need to take the risk with him. The next midfielder we're looking at, and it was FPL player royalty pretty much last year, and the only real debate is do you take him or Christian Eriksen. So I'm clearly putting my stamp of approval on Deli Alli, as I've picked him just over Christian Eriksen. Both are great choices, both have their pros and cons compared to each other, but Dele Alli last year scored more points, they're at a very similar price, and I feel like Dele Alli has better close range goal threat than Christian Eriksen, which means he's going to score more goals, and I think that may be the difference between them in points scored. Coming in at 9.5 million, Dele Alli had 35 starts last season with 2 substitute appearances, scored 18 goals and got 7 assists. That's 25 goals involved in, with a goal involvement ratio of 31.6%. Attempts, he had 94 attempts on goal with chances created at 52. And the fixture list for Spurs is quite kind. However, they are playing at Wembley, so you have to take that into consideration. But Newcastle, Chelsea, Burnley, Everton and Swansea is definitely not a bad start to the season. And then finally, my Man City player of choice, and this was difficult, but I've gone with Kevin De Bruyne purely because I feel like he's the most nailed-on player in that team. Let me explain. During pre-season, Pep Guardiola has flirted with 4-1-4-1. He's also flirted with 3-4-3, 3-5-2, so I don't know what formation Pep Guardiola is going to play. If he plays wing backs, that means the likes of Leroy Sané, who I was very positive on earlier when FPL dropped for this season, potentially is fighting for positions with wing backs, which we know Man City have signed a few, and players like Sterling as well. I feel like players that are going to be playing in the centre of the midfield might be easier to pick. And I think Kevin De Bruyne is just of that kind of class, especially goal threat and assist wise, where you cannot ignore him, and I think he will play the majority of Premier League games. I do feel like if you have him for the entire season, you may get burnt a couple of times in the season, but if we look at last season, he actually played in a lot of the games as well. Coming in at 10 million, he is the most expensive player on this list, and I think he's the most expensive Man City midfielder in the game. He had 33 starts last year with 3 substitute appearances. He scored 6 goals, which could be much higher. He hit the post a record amount of times out of all the players last year, and he got 21 assists as well, which means he was involved in 27 goals in total. His goal involvement rate was at 35.3%. He had 86 attempts on goal and created 103 chances for his teammates. And with Brighton, Everton, Bournemouth, Liverpool and Watford as the first 5, the fixture list is kind, and I just feel like with there not being certainty on the formation and whether he's going to play 2 up front with Jesus and Aguero, and the fact that players like Sané now aren't necessarily nailed on, I feel like Kevin De Bruyne, to me right now, is the best option in that Man City side. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning in as always to the channel. It's always much appreciated. The support has been incredible. Every time I say the subscriber count in a video, by the time I release the video, I've jumped way higher than the number I just said, so I won't even bother today. But if you've enjoyed the video, please hit that like button for me and hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified when I go live on the channel. Check out the links in the description if you want to support the channel or buy any merchandise. I've been J&O, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.